Then when I first began publishing my work, the Johnstown Flood and the Brooklyn Bridge and the Panama Canal book, I had the huge stroke of immense good luck, not just professionally, but in a wonderful part of our lives called friendship, to meet and work with this extraordinary Wendell Miner. Now, Wendell is easily one of the hardest working people I've ever known in my life. And I like to think that I'm a pretty hard worker. And I realize in all of the books I've written, one of the main characters, if not the main character, has been a very hard worker. And they people who went on a journey, people who would not give up in the face of adversity or failure. And I just today asked Wendell, I said, how many hours a day do you work? He said, 12. How many days a week do you work? 7. But he said, I have to admit, over the weekend, I pull back a little. I only work 8 hours a day. Now, there's a huge lesson in that. Nothing of value or exception comes easily. So many people think a writer just sits down and knocks it off and then goes for a walk or has a martini. It's not that way. You have to work very hard, and you have to know what you're doing, and that often requires immense research. I remember when he was working on his book about Henry Knox bringing the cannons over the Berkshire Mountains, and he wanted to know what kind of oxen did they have. And he found out what kind of oxen they had, and it's a breed that's virtually extinct now, but he found where there was a farm here in New England where they still raised those oxen, and he made arrangement whereby he got photographs and all the rest, so these oxen in the illustrations in that book are the real thing. Now, that's not just tossing something off. That's the kind of dedication and devotion, not just to accuracy, but to the vivid reality of other days when things were vividly real, too. One of the most obvious lessons of the innumerable lessons of history is that almost nothing is ever accomplished alone. It's a joint effort. And certainly book writing, book publishing is a perfect example of that. It's not just the name of the author on the cover that really speaks for what the work is added up to. It's the author, sure, but it's also editors and copy editors and researchers and librarians and archivists and illustrators, map makers, all of that. And as was said earlier, I've worked with Wendell on virtually every book that I've written. And I knew right away that we were mutual people who believed in effort and that you ought to have some purpose in life and that purpose ought to be beneficial to the level of society or learning or patriotism or call it what you will. And Wendell, as a friend, is not only extremely generous, extremely thoughtful, he's loyal. And that sometimes is forgotten by people who achieve fame or success of a prominent kind. And Wendell has never changed at all in how he respects and keeps touch with his friends. And he's also married to one of the most wonderful partners of anybody I know. It's just a joy for me to be included in a tribute to him tonight in this particular setting. And I think there's a connection between what Wendell has done with his work and what Norman Rockwell did with his work. I think some of Wendell's books about American history for young people are the best possible, and particularly the books that he's done where he's painting the sky at night. The dust jacket of To Kill a Mockingbird that he did is, to me, one of the most powerful, emblematic dust jackets for a book that I've ever seen. I think that when you look back at what you've been trying to do with your work, you begin to see things that you never realized as you were in the process of working and going through life. When I first started out, many of my academic historian friends would say to me, what are you working on? And I'd tell them, and then they'd say, what's your theme? And I'd make something up. I had no idea what my theme was. That was one of the reasons I was writing the book, in order to find out what it was about. Otherwise, to me, if I knew all about the subject, I wouldn't want to write the book, because it would not be an adventure. It would not be a detective case or the hunt or whatever you want to call it. And one of the things I realize now, in retrospect, is how much of what I've written about is about a journey. And I realized that at least 3 of my favorite dust jackets that Wendell painted were saying that, and in effect telling me that, but I didn't get it at that point. His dust jacket for the Truman biography has the theme of the road of Truman's life, from the farm to the town of Independence to the White House, blended in, woven in with a very strong profile portrait of Harry Truman. My book, The Brave Companions, 2 young, brave scientists were setting out to go climb Mount Chimborazo, and there's the road and there's the mountain in the distance, and they're going to do it, and they did do it. Setting off to do something that most people would have thought was impossible. And finally, the building of the Panama Canal, his Panama Canal dust jacket is simply fantastic. And the original, which he also gave us, is quite large. And I asked him tonight why he did that painting so large, because you don't have to paint large to paint the dust jacket of a book. And he said, because it's such a large story. And this is a man who's a storyteller as much as any writer. And that's part of the reason why his work is so captivating and will carry so far. And the fact that so much of his work, and others here this evening, is devoted to children and to what the effect will be on them is, I think, commendable in the extreme, and not to be overlooked when we're giving them praise, whether it's personally or in the form of an award. I think our most important people in our society, in our country, are our teachers. And that's why I also think this exhibit you have put on here and the important thing to keep in mind is not all teachers are in the classroom. They're writing books, they're painting portraits, they're doing illustrations, they're composing music. And history is not just about politics and war. It's about everything: art, music, poetry, science, medicine. It's about human beings. And the essence of it is it's about life, people, when in the course of human events. And the work of someone like Norman Rockwell and the work of someone like my dear pal Wendell Miner is about life. It's about human beings. And that's the essence of story. Congratulations, Wendell.
Thank you for those heartfelt yet towering words of inspiration and real teaching and learning. The artistry that, I'm going to move over so we can all fit up here, that you have created and added to the world is just a huge contribution. So now, Jerry, if you would like to...
Wow. There you go.
Pass the torch. The keepers of the flame, hold the base, please, to Wendell. We have been so honored to have you as our artist laureate these past 2 years, and all of your teaching and the art that you've created on exhibition here and in many museums all around the country. And Wendell, we're just so overwhelmed and honored to have you become our new Artist Laureate and all that you will continue to contribute to the world through your art and to this museum. Thank you.
Well, how do you follow all this? I must say that every time David speaks, I learn something new. But I have to say that our friendship over 40 years, probably 42 years now, he's been a great mentor and teacher of mine. And every time I've read one of his books, I learned something new. And he's been responsible for me pursuing my books that teach something about our country, our nation's history, or something to do with the nature environmental issues of our time. And I had a lot of notes here, but I'm probably just going to ignore most of them. But I did once say that I consider creating art for children's books a noble endeavor of the highest order. Children's books are like miniature mobile art galleries, and combined with text, they can inspire young minds. And for me, there is no higher calling than sharing my love of this country, its natural beauty, and its history with the next generation. I've been involved now, I think, Laurie, how long have I been involved with the museum? About 15 years at least. And I've always considered this an extension of my family at Norman Rockwell's museum and the board. And I have to tell you that when it comes to education, I've been dedicated to that my entire career. And Florence and I, my CEO and commander-in-chief over there, has been working with me for 27 years and has not only written books with me, but has also coordinated and planned exhibitions and school visits over the many years. We've traveled from coast to coast, meeting children from all walks of life. And there's no greater honor for me to do that and to inspire young minds. Jerry and I have something in common. Excuse me, I have allergies. We're both recovering dyslexics. And there's something about that that has become a strange gift. Because when I was in first grade trying to read Dick and Jane, I was more often looking out the window than trying to read. To me, the pictures told the story. And to this day, I think of my life in pictures. And as David said, look at a picture, write about it, and then write about it and look at the picture. And you learn something new every time. What we've been able to do in the educational system in this institution is to reach so many young people. Last year, the museum was visited by 17,500 children and students. Our travel exhibitions have reached almost 23,000, and we've had over 12,000 downloads of information by young children and students. The other thing that we've managed to accomplish in this museum is extend the collection of the Norman Rockwell Museum beyond Norman Rockwell. This museum has become the home of American illustration, and we now have 17,500 pieces added to our collection in the past 9 years. This collection represents the continuum of the American story, honoring Rockwell's great American narrative. New generations will benefit enormously at this collection, diverse collection of visual, diverse voices, and continuing to grow. My first connection to Rockwell, and I think we all have our Norman Rockwell stories, but as a kid, my father would always send me to Schaefer's drugstore to pick up tobacco for his pipe. And I'd always have to pass the newsstand. And I'd always notice McCall's Magazine, Ladies' Home Journal, and of course, Saturday Evening Post. I'll never forget one cover that struck me directly. Breaking Home Ties. You all know the painting of the farmer sitting on the Model A running board. His young son is all spit and polished with a new suit and tie. He's waving a banner of his college that he's going to. The farmer is going to flag down the train at the whistle stop. The dog is resting its chin on the boy's knee, knowing that the boy is going away. When I saw that, something hit me that I was going to go away and break home ties sometime soon too. And it was only 9 years later that my father didn't flag down a train, but he took me to O'Hare Airport to send me off to art school. and it was all because of one cover. The power of Norman's work is going to be timeless forever and evermore because his American story is timeless. And I'm so pleased and so honored to be part of this institution and part of the Artist Laureate Award, and I promise to do my very best to make you all proud of me. Thank you very much.